Hey everybody, this is NFT Buyer 777. I am the co-founder of Meta Millions and I'm back with another video. Today I get to interview Draxxts.sol, also known as the General. He is one of the founders of the famous Fox Federation, and I'm really excited to talk to him about how he's developed a long-standing community in the Sol ecosystem and also how he's pivoted in the Sol ecosystem. Really excited to learn more about both of those things with him. I hope you enjoy the interview. All right, everybody. So today I'm talking with Draxxts.sol, and he is are you the co-founder or are you the CEO of Famous Fox Federation? What do you go by? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Draxxts, consider myself to be a co-founder. We're a three-partner, group that are the creators for the Famous Fox Federation.
Nice. Okay. And so when did you guys launch? You guys have been around for several months now. You're one of the more long-standing projects in Sol.
Yeah. So we actually we started our campaign early September, and we actually were planning on launching our collection on ETH, and
Oh,
we
wow.
did that. Yeah, we did that for about 2 weeks, primarily because our dev knew the Solidity side of things pretty well. And at the time also, like, Solana kind of seemed like more like a country club to kind of get into, because they weren't like accepting everything for mints. Like, it wasn't as easy to kind of mint a project in Solana back at that point in time. And then once we kind of got halfway through September, it was about 2 weeks, give or take. Our dev kind of said, "Hey, I think I can work something on Solana to get us to mint on that chain if we're interested." And we were, because we just saw the opportunity more from like the community side of things, because
Right.
Solana seemed like it was much more like a community friendly chain, and certainly kind of more on the upcoming side of things with the mints that were going out at the time. So we pivoted to Solana mid-September. Um, we started our mint September 30th. We did a pre-sale whitelist, again minting on our own candy machine
Okay.
for a half hour. Yeah, for a half hour, and that price was 1.5 Solana at the time. And then we said after the half hour, we'd open up the public mint at 2 Solana. And people were kind of upset because they thought that we were going to sell out during our whitelist pre-sale time. So we actually said we'll bump it to 30 minutes or half our collection, whichever hits first.
Mm.
And we only sold, I think, about 1,600 out of our full collection of 7,777 within that 30 minutes. We opened it up to public, and then within 24 hours we minted, I think it was 3,200 NFTs as a total, within a 24-hour period. And at the time, a lot of projects were selling out. They
Right.
were priced a little lower than us. Collection sizes were about the same size. So, for us, we kind of had to figure out, well, how do we pivot? Because ultimately we didn't want to burn our collection. Again, focusing on kind of the community side, we definitely wanted to mint out our collection. So we decided to kind of pause mint, uh, tell everyone that we're going to airdrop 1 for 1 for everyone that's already minted. We actually
Right.
opened up secondary trading before we finished out our mint for people
Oh,
to be able
interesting.
to. Yeah, so we did like partial mint lists on Magic Eden and Solanart and a few other exchanges. And that I think kind of created a little bit of FUD. I'm pretty sure some people had sold out less than 1 Solana, because at that point, their cost basis was about 1 Solana, give or take.
Right.
We opened mint back up. We kind of went a little bit more on the marketing campaigning side of things, just to let people know that we did drop our mint price. I think Solana was around $150, $160 at the time. And we sold out. I think it took about 7 hours or so until like it kind of caught on, I'd say, from the marketing side. And we sold out in about 5 minutes once that kind of hit. So it took us, and we did the airdrop in between. So in total, it was almost like a 48-hour mint, if you will. But
Okay.
we averaged just under 1 Solana a piece for the whole initial collection when we minted back in early October, I'll say, is our mint date.
Yeah, that's not a bad average. I mean, especially like now with Solana being $80,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a big difference. But okay, so from there, what was kind of your roadmap then, and then how has it changed now? Because there's been a big shift, or at least a big add-on, not a shift, to the token marketplace that you guys have. I mean, it is something that every Discord I'm in now, they talk about Famous Fox Federation token marketplace. So, I mean, regardless of that type of marketing is very good, having that word of mouth marketing, but how did the roadmap get that added onto it? What changed there?
Yeah, no, excellent question. So when we first came out with our collection, we ultimately wanted to kind of provide utility, and a lot of people will say that we want to provide utility in it. And now it comes in the form of staking in a token, and then whatever kind of angle people try to kind of put on it.
Of
Um,
course.
so I want to say we were either the first or we were one of the first to create staking. We started our staking November 10th, and we just wanted to have utilities that ultimately would benefit the holders that just cost our token. Um,
Okay.
a lot of other projects, they have like breeding and all these other kind of mechanisms to it that do involve their tokens. Um, so you end up getting something out of it, but it's not really like a tool side of things. Some they have tools, some they don't, and some tools too also just cost Solana versus using a utility token. So
Right.
for us, we started off, with our swapping platform, or Foxy Swap, where you could swap NFTs with another person. So that way, it basically kind of created a safe place for people to be able to do OTC trading, because we just
Mm-hmm.
saw such a plethora of people doing these swaps and getting scammed by either middlemen or the person on the other
Yeah.
side, because there wasn't really a platform to do it.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted to provide that for our community. I think on the marketing side of things, we were a little bit lighter on the way that we marketed that. But again, we kind of were just like building through, everything we kind of put on our roadmap, and we kept adding things on. We kept adding, like we were looking at the community, and based off of things that they were interested in getting, a sweeping tool where you can go in, and now it's an aggregate sweeping tool between Magic Eden and Solinar. So you can just go
Mm.
in, put a number of NFTs you want from a collection, and it will sweep for you. Um, we
Wow.
added in like a minting, an NFT minting thing, so you can pay 50 Foxy and mint your own NFT. It's not part of a collection, so you can really only sell it on SolSea, but it saves people if they just want to mint a picture of their dog or their house or a piece of art they made.
Right.
It costs 50 Foxy to do. If you own a famous fox, you can mint 2 NFTs every day for free. You could put royalties to it. You could put attributes to it, like whatever you want to do. It just kind of adds that value back to our community. And we don't charge any SOL on top. It's pure Foxy plus whatever Solana's gas fee is at the time. And we always look for, between our community and crypto Twitter, of what seems to be in need. And I don't know if it was 100% Soul Big Brain that tweeted it out, but someone tweeted out the idea that there should be an easy place to get whitelist tokens, for these projects that come out, because not for anything, but like from an organizational standpoint, like people just have a ton of tokens in their wallet. They might have gotten
Yeah.
from whitelists, they might have gotten from whatever. They just don't know what they are. And so we kind of talked it over as a group, and our dev was like, yeah, I can, we can put together a token market, like that's not a problem. And so from there we just put it together, pushed it out, refined it a little bit here and there, and just tried to get feedback for what people thought. And before we know it, we had people in our DMs asking us, oh, do you have this token, do you have that token? And
Yeah.
so it just kind of caught on like wildfire. And I want to say in our first week we had 10,000 plus SOL worth of volume in just the first
Wow.
week. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
I think
wild.
we just crossed 50K, I think, yesterday, and it hasn't even been a whole month, so it's been
Yeah.
insane.
I love that token marketplace. That's been honestly, like, I have done a lot of flips on token marketplace because it's pure profit.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's the nice part about it, right? From a
Yeah.
utility side for our project, and I think that's important for things for people that want to build projects to kind of think about, is from a utility angle for us with the token market. if you have a staked Fox, it's 0% fees on that token market. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's a trans-dimensional Fox or a famous Fox. Any NFT in that 15,000 piece collection, you get 0% fees on that token market. That's kind of the value prop. A lot of people have asked us all, do you rev share from it? And we don't. And the main reason why we don't is because if you own a Fox, you're already getting the benefit of having a 0% fee on it.
Yeah.
So it's again the safety side of things. It's the exposure side of things. If you want to grind these whitelists in your same point, if you want to flip tokens, pure profit.
Yeah.
Anyone else, it's 2%, and that's all it is. So the liquidity essentially stays in the market. It's going between degen to degen. It's not going from a degen to a project, or I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
not a hefty portion of it isn't going. We don't have 10% royalties or anything like that
Yeah.
that's being pulled out of it. And I think the benefit of it too, which kind of makes it kind of a double ply solution, is that some projects get exposure to being on the token market. So like if
Yes.
people, it's not even like the fact that, one person just wants to sell their token and go off and do something else. Some people might not have the time to mint it or to grind the whitelist. So they might just jump into the token market and buy the token and mint the project because they want to support the project, but they just know
Hmm.
the current meta is the current meta. And it kind of just makes more sense for them to just buy the token. And if they get priced out on the token, they get priced out on the token. Like that's a little bit more challenging, but they'll always kind of still be there for secondaries to buy back into it, if that's the case.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that it's really interesting to hear you say, hey, we look at what the community as a whole needs in utility, and then we try to provide that. Because there's nothing against any project that does this, but there's one thing of adding utility that's great for your project and like what you want to do project wise. If it's like a lore or like a game, that's great, that's really cool. But then when you come to utility in like the broader aspect, it gets so much marketing that's natural, so much like word of mouth, because over the past 2 weeks, it feels like every Discord I'm in, they just say, hey, is whitelist on FFF? Everybody knows it, and so I think that is something that's going to be really beneficial long term. Marketing is great if you can do good Twitter stuff, but if you can get to word of mouth, I mean, that's something that could be long term, and worth its weight in gold. But that's something that I really like about you guys, and I actually didn't know about your Foxy swap until you just mentioned it. And that was actually my first scam. Like 2 days in, I had a Meerkat Millionaire when it was like 7 or 8
A
soul.
lot of soul. Yeah, a lot of soul.
And I lost it because someone was like, hey, do you want to trade? And I'm like, I'm 3 days into this, so I'm like, yeah, sure. Man, I got scammed so hard.
Yeah, and that sucks because like the funny part about it, and I mention this a lot in my spaces, but like I come from like the old school RuneScape days, and I don't know if you've ever played, but
Yeah.
it's a MMORPG, back in like the mid 2000s. I got into it, and that happened all the time, right? Like
Right.
people would like try to trim your armor, or they'd say I'll double your gold, like they
Mhm.
would just do all that stuff. They'd do quick swaps at the end. They'd swap out one item for another that looked similar to it. Like
Mhm.
I've seen all of it, from at this point 15 plus years ago, and it's just it's the same thing rehashed into like a different algorithm, and
Yep.
the same outcome exists, unfortunately. And I'm a big proponent of security in the space. That's why like a lot of our tools, our swap tool, our token market, I mean, it's all meant for providing that security side of things, especially for like the OTC, the peer-to-peer kind of
Mhm.
trading that's going to happen, and I think it primarily happens, with projects that might have like higher royalties or something where the person that owns the NFT doesn't want to give up that much of a percentage, not that they don't think that the project itself deserves it, but it's just like it just seems like a sizable portion of like their investment that they have to hope it goes up in order for them to even just break even.
Right.
Um, so like that's the one thing that like I like about our utility. For the most part, it's all kind of security based. Some things are more quality of life. For an example, like we have a Foxy Send, you can bulk send NFTs from one wallet to another. So if you have a burner wallet and you go degen mint 100 of whatever and you want to move it to a different wallet, you can do it in one shot. It costs Foxy to do, of course, like everything else, but
Mhm.
again, it just makes life a bit easier for people on Solana.
Now talk to me about slippage on your token. So making sure that it doesn't like, do you focus too much or do you focus much on the price of Foxy, and how has it done since you've released staking? And what are some of the other utilities that you've built in to protect it from just people burning Foxy all the time?
Yeah, no, excellent question. So our project stance is one Foxy equals one Foxy,
Right.
and I have looked to kind of see what the pricing of Foxy does, but
Mhm.
nothing that we do is meant to influence the price of Foxy one way or another.
Okay.
Um, when we first brought the token out, a lot of people asked us if we were going to add liquidity to a liquidity pool or anything along those lines, and we weren't. We didn't. We haven't provided any liquidity. So all the liquidity that exists out there is from the community side of things with regard to
Okay.
the value they think that the token has to them. Initially, it was listed on, I think, Dex Labs, and I believe there's a few um, pools now that you can swap from if people are interested. And I've seen the token tends to spike around. We have auctions. We do like one for one style auctions with our famous Fox Friends and Foes collection, which is a tertiary collection. It's all curated by, or created, I should say, by other artists, just different artists in the space. Technically, it's like usually like fan art, basically, or some kind of a derivative that we kind of auction out. And we primarily do those auctions in Foxy. We
Okay.
have done, yeah, we have done one of those auctions for Solana. That was with the Degen DAO, so both Trash Pandas and Apes. And we decided for that one, we were going to donate 1/3 of the proceeds of that to a charity, and then 1/3 to our DAO, 1/3 to their DAO. And I think it raised like a total of like 40 some Solana for it, which is perfectly fine. I mean,
Yeah.
that's great for a one for one auction, especially when our collection's already so large. And that went to some good causes, but we also recently did a different auction for charity as well. It was 50-50 between charity and DAO for our number one, our golden fox, which ended up going for 175 Solana. So that was
Oh,
pretty nice.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
Wow.
been we've been we've been big on that as part of our mission. So from our mint, we actually donated 800 Solana, which at the time was about 125 grand to 11 different charities. So that's always been part of our mission to kind of give back, because we kind of see that as an important thing in general. It's not necessarily like where you kind of grow up or whatnot. There's certain people in need that can certainly benefit from having some additional finances, and so that's been important for us. And we had our DAO the whole way across, provide us with charities, and then they did a vote for it, and we did a percentage basis for each individual charity that we donated to from the votes from the DAO. But it's been good to be able to give back. I think we're probably one of the largest donations from the Solana NFT space, which is something I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah. And talking about kind of your community voting and having an input, how did you see your community back in early October when you guys didn't mint out? How have you seen, well, you minted out over a few days, 48 day or 48 hours, but how have you seen your community grow from kind of the first week where there may have been a lot of people just degenning in, and a few months out? How have you seen it grow and change over the past several months?
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. So when we first minted out, I mean, we did have some FUD that popped because For us going into like our mint, we did, tell the community or ask the community, if they would be okay with us kind of creating some one for ones that were part of our collection that we were going to give out. So once that kind of hit, I think on the Twitter side, some folks didn't like kind of research into that to know that that's what we actually did. And that created FUD. So like, a lot of people that came in, they saw that and they're like, oh, okay, this seems shady, like we're out. So like they all kind of left. And
Hmm.
that didn't like really deter us at all because we don't focus on our floor price. We don't really focus on Foxy price. We kind of just build and we just
Right.
look at what the community needs, and we build out from there. So our initial community, again, was still fantastic, as it is today. It was a different time then, just because of all the other NFTs that existed and the ways that folks were trying to provide utility and other collections that were coming out. Like it wasn't as saturated as it's kind of become.
Right.
So at the time, our community wasn't as tight knit as it really is now, just
Hmm.
because people were still feeling out communities, trying to figure out like where they wanted to be, and we've just kind of consistently delivered, like under promise over deliver on just about everything we've created for that sole purpose. And over the time, I mean, I think from the peak in November of Solana's price to like, January-ish, like all through December, our community kind of just hunkered down. The pricing of Solana was dipping, the pricing of NFTs were dipping.
Hmm.
But all of our utilities use Foxy. So anything people still wanted to use with our NFTs, they could. They're not worried about
Right.
like, oh, I can't afford to do this, or this is going to suck some more liquidity out of me. They're just using our token for what it's meant for. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of really made things a bit stronger. And then once we just started pumping more and more content out and more, utility out to our community, it just made us like that much stronger. And the creativity side of things really kicked in within our community. And, it's just a good vibe all the time. People want to help each other out. They want to make sure people don't get scammed. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much to it. People are more than happy to give away Foxy for someone to use Foxy swap for the first
Right.
time or something like that. And it's just made it like that much better for our community. And, I try not to dilute, our Discord with too many like whitelist giveaways and stuff like that, just because products like, oh yeah, we're giving out these whitelists to X, Y, and Z projects, if you want to be next. And, I always do research into projects before I post them. And,
Right.
I don't know if our Discord gets mad about it or not. They're not getting all these different offers. I just try to make it more about quality than quantity. And I
Hmm.
think that really kind of helps keep our community, together on point. Not tons of different information out there. And we also added in like a mental health section in our DAO just because people were feeling it recently, I'll
Oh
say within
yeah.
the last month or so. And we just wanted to kind of provide, a safe space for people to really chat about whatever was on their mind. And we didn't want it to get diluted within like our normal chat section, so we made a DAO only thing. And I think that's been very helpful as well, because at the end of the day, we're all people. I think that's important to recognize. Project owner, degen, minter, like everyone, everyone's a person in the space.
Yes.
Even if you're a bot, there's a person behind that bot. So like, there's
Yeah.
only so many people can take before they break. And I think our community's just been really, really, really strong, because of kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, just from a buyer perspective, I really love to see your community continue to build over the past several months. I just really, it's really refreshing to see longer projects in the space. There's so many projects that are in here for 1 2 weeks 3 weeks and then they leave, but I've loved watching you guys develop and continue to build and add value, not just to your own project but to the Sol ecosystem. So I'm really glad that you were able to hop on, and I really enjoyed this conversation, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you reaching out and and offering this. I think this is great. Definitely look forward to some more of the content that you create on this side. I know it's needed in the space. I actually was telling a
Yeah.
few people, yeah, I was telling a few people, I mean, if they want to work on something and they don't know what to do, I said, work on the education piece, for
Hmm.
NFTs, blockchain, Solana, wherever. There's so much opportunity out there, if people kind of get at it. And it's great to see what you're doing for the space. So I
Yeah,
certainly
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and link the Famous Fox, their Twitter, and then I will also include a Discord invite, because if you guys haven't hopped in their Discord, just go feel out their community. I love their community. I'm pretty much a fly on the wall in their community, but I do like to be in there sometimes. Well, thank you again for hopping on, and we'll see you guys.